Ladies, welcome to episode 3 of Business as Unusual. Ça va bien?
Ça va bien.
Good. So today, Laura, I just want to reiterate who we are, what we do in life, and take this moment because I know some of the people that are watching right now may be their first time seeing us. So I'll start with you, Lauriane Duguay. What do you do in life?
What do I do in life? I'm an HR consultant, so human resources consultant, as well as an organizational excellence specialist. So I help businesses better manage their people. I help them better understand, better engage, and I help them get the people in the positions that they need, the talent, the level of talent in positions within their organization to make sure that they're performing at their full potential.
Nice. And today we have our first guest to our episodes, Madame Julie Tremblay. Julie, what do you do in life?
What do I do in life? I have a communications and a design firm. So what we do is service clients with their brands, their online digital presence, and everything in between, really.
Yes, can't wait to dive into that. So basically, that's the subject of the day. Having an online presence. Before I go there, my name is Sébastien Lessard. I'm the contract training manager at Collège Boréal, so I take care of meeting and building relationships with businesses and organizing training for them to increase their skills and their capacity within their organization. So just to frame our first 2 episodes, ladies, COVID-19 was the reason why we decided to have these talks and have these business as unusual episodes. It's a very different time and unprecedented times in our history. And we have an opportunity. Episode 1, we decided to frame it as instead of sobbing and having pity on ourselves, it's maybe a time for us to look at this situation as an opportunity to rethink what we're doing. Episode 2, we talked about what some of the exercises you could be doing in assessing, evaluating what we do as a business and determining where we want to go. And our 3rd episode, we decided to go with bringing your business online, because in the feedback that we got, we know that a lot of businesses in Northern Ontario were not online, or the presence that they had was not geared to be able to operate in this situation, this COVID-19 situation. So, Lauriane, how do you feel about this topic of discussion today?
I love it. I think it is great. I think it's a perfect segue from our last topic where we talked about strategizing and thinking about what could we be doing better, how could we expand what we're already doing to make sure that we're kind of minimizing the impact of this pandemic. And I think that for a lot of businesses, that's meant having to reinvent themselves, and part of that reinvention is really this expansion onto the online platform. So I love it. I love that we've brought Jules in, who I respect as, you know, a specialist in the field, and I'm excited actually to hear what she's got to tell us about.
Well, that's it. And before we dive into it, what's your experience with Julie? Just so people know, really, like you said, what you do, but how long have you been in this business of bringing people online?
Well, okay, so without actually telling everybody my age, I started in 2000, so it's been 20 years now. I worked at an agency in Ottawa. I actually was recruited the day after I graduated and worked there for 8 years, or close to 8 years. They were really great mentors in every field, from PR to the design to the project management to every level of client need, I would say. My role there was more geared towards design. I didn't have to take care of every aspect of the business, but having gathered all of these opportunities, I was able to go on my own in 2007. And so since then, it's been a hell of a ride. So how we help clients is, one, I think, is helping them set up their business. So not only doing the actual practical work of it, but thinking of everything that needs to happen in terms of how to reach their audiences, targeting the people that they need to speak to, which is all entailed with branding, really, and how they might talk to them directly. So, you know, it's not a cookie cutter. I wouldn't say every situation has the same solution, especially depending on what your services are and what you're selling. I think it's important to keep that in mind. There's some businesses that need a lot of help online, or not, I wouldn't say help, but that they need a bigger presence. And some can get away with a lot smaller presences and reaching their target audiences. So I think it's good to evaluate that at every turn, because you don't need to invest as much as you probably think you do.
So for those that are watching this, like, how important is it to be online? Like, what is your feeling about businesses that are not online and those that are online? Like, how important is it?
Well, okay, so this is pre-COVID or post-COVID? Because
let's do both. Let's do both.
Yeah, well, as you can see now, you know, I mean, pre-COVID, it would have been, okay, well, is your audience online, right? Are they looking for you online? I mean, there's a certain level of you have to keep in mind, like, everybody's looking online for whatever it is. You're going to Google something because you're looking for, even if it's ice cream and you're out of town, who sells ice cream, right? So that's the bare minimum. I think by being online, if you used to ask me if everybody should be on Google, yes, that's free. So if you have a business and you don't have a listing, which is a free service that you can just log in and get set up that way, then yes, everybody should be. If everybody needs a website, depends on your target audience. I would say probably 80% of them need a website of some sort, like a presence, even if it's a one-pager, which outlines their location and their services and how to reach them. Really, I mean, that's the basic, and one-pagers will do that, being just having everything on one page by the term one-pager. I mean. But post-COVID now, not post, but in the situation, I think if you realize that if you're not in business and you're not online, you're not able to reach your audience at all, because you have no second or primary, I guess, location for people to be able to get in touch with you.
Yeah. Jules, you said Google, it's free. So just briefly, how would someone initiate kind of getting their online listing into Google?
Most businesses, if they've been in business for a bit, Google will actually have posted their location.
Okay.
You have a physical location, and if you haven't done it yourself, just by virtue of people looking you up, you will exist in Google. That if your information is accurate, that's not always the case. If your business is fed by only by user photos, so they're not, you know, there's photos of people like that we're taking with their own phones of your business, and could not necessarily be in the best light. Yeah. I think that's something else to consider. But just that way, if you Google yourself and you see a listing on the right-hand side, that's your Google listing right there. Okay. You need to claim that. If you haven't claimed that, you need to claim it. And if
so, how do you do that?
Well, and that's something we could do. We could share with people just screenshots, but there should be I guess in the middle of that listing somewhere that says claim this business if it hasn't been claimed.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, definitely that's number one. And if you have a new business, put yourself on the map. You have to just create a Google business account, and that's also free, and just have yourself put on there.
Awesome. And then I think what's important as well to note with the Google listing is, so this is my own personal opinion, and you can share yours, but when I land on a Google listing, I click the link and it's not the website of that business, or it's just a description. Like, I'm happy to see that business exists, but the legitimacy of that business is immediately questioned by myself.
But that's not a listing. What you're talking about is a link. What I'm talking about is the listing on the right-hand side. So if you click the link, that's a different story. The listing is tied directly to Google Maps. So if you don't want to give your business an address, then it gives you a bit more of an issue, because you have those legitimacy like problems that you can run into, because there are maybe a few other people with the same name or similar names to your business, right? Yep. But so what you're referring to is a Google result.
Yes, and and that's the thing, right? So for me, a Google Map listing or a Google link, for me, I'm on Google and I'm looking to find a business, and not just geographically, but to learn more about that
Your
business.
service for what you're looking for, right?
That's it. So when I do find a business on a map and there's no website associated to it, for me, it kind of, man, what kind of business is this, right? I don't get to feel and to see what kind of business it is, and I'm not attracted towards those business, and I guess it's because of how we consume now, right, and how we make our choices. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
I absolutely agree.
Yeah, definitely. You want to be careful. You want to be careful of how you're portrayed. I mean, depending on it's also depending on your brand, right? If you're a farmer selling, grain, they don't necessarily, like, your audience might not necessarily think, oh, they need a website. I don't understand why they don't have a website, right? I mean, I don't want to preach to the choir here, but you have to you have to make sure you understand your audience. But most people in business offering services, professional services, yes, they do need a website and they do need a presence to actually just confirm that they've invested in the fact that they want to give information to their clients, right? Yeah. Just as a little side note, guys, for Google, I just want to say this because I've been asked so many times. If you've gotten an email by a company saying, oh, if you pay me this, you'll be on Google and blah, blah, blah. If you're paying for their time to actually do the work for you, that's one thing. If you have to pay, it's illegal. It's not, Google doesn't charge.
It's okay, good to know. Yeah, so I think this is awesome stuff. I think what I'm hearing though, Seb, and not to overcommit Jules, but I think I'm seeing a bit of a potential for a future session or show where we get a bit of a walkthrough of what that would look like to get yourself on there. So just stay tuned, folks.
Yeah, well, definitely, because sure. That's exactly one of the things I was going to ask Julie is, like, how does she feel our businesses are doing right now with their presences online? Do you feel like you're seeing a growing number of businesses going towards it? Are you seeing la réticence, like people that are hesitating to go towards going online because they're scared? What's your overall feel of Northern Ontario's businesses and their presence online?
I think they were, to be honest, though, I think people were gearing themselves to go towards being online for the most part before this happened. But to which extent, right? I think everyone understands their need in business, that their need to be there, but the commitment, right? There's a huge commitment. If you want to start selling online and you want to, yeah, exactly. I saw Lori's face. Like, really, it's a time investment, and it's an ongoing time investment. You need to be current. You need to keep your products up to date. You need to have what's in store. I mean, you can start with your best sellers. Obviously, having a starting point is good, right? But I mean, as a true insomniac, I don't know if I should be saying this, but I do most of my shopping at night, at 3 a.m. So. At least finding information that I'm looking for, say, in Kapuskasing, and I'm finding that we're getting closer to where we should be, but we're definitely not where, like, larger cities are, or the south is, and I mean, that's Cap in the north, and I think we don't need to be there, but we definitely need to be in a better situation.
Yeah, I was talking to someone who recently actually migrated online, given the current COVID, and some of the things I would have never thought of is just this notion of, you've got your in-store inventory, but then you need to connect the two, link the two, and especially a lot of these smaller stores, they're not even automated yet, so their inventory is still manual, right? So they need to connect so that if something's selling online, it needs to be, accounted for, that it's no longer available in your inventory system. And I was like, wow, pardon me?
So they don't sell it twice. Sorry.
Right. And that they're able to meet the demand. So maybe just from your experience, I'm sure that you must have gotten a bit of some new clients during this time, without naming any names. Would you be able to kind of give us an idea of, kind of provide a profile of what that may have looked like?
To be honest, I couldn't actually take on new clients right now. There was a very, very full plate to start with. But in terms of putting businesses online with products, to be honest, I did see some clients go online with products. I did help a few companies put their products on Facebook to sell. So just giving them that, because yeah. But I think it's great what they're doing, and I find that COVID has also opened up a new way of shopping online, where there's curbside pickup, where that is for our area, which is Northern Ontario, that should probably remain post-COVID. I mean, it's a great service. One of the bigger problems in the North in terms of manufacturing, and one of the reasons why we don't have as many manufacturers, considering how cheap it is for large buildings, it's shipping, the cost of shipping. Any way to get your stuff out of the region costs an arm and a leg. So you can't compete with anybody down south that are, offering free shipping. So having curbside pickup allows for you to have that edge on certain competitors, or even Amazon for that matter. Well, you can have it tomorrow morning, right? As opposed to, okay, you may the next day shipping, Amazon, that's not true.
It's a fallacy. I agree. It's never actually happened. But you're right.
Yeah.
That's what this curbside pickup is. I can get it the next morning. I actually did that yesterday. I ordered something online, and we picked it up this morning, curbside. So yeah, absolutely. And you can still have that luxury of shopping at 3 a.m., but pick it up the next day.
Yeah, and it's not only a COVID situation. I think it's a time saver. And as a busy parent, you need that. I mean, okay, yeah, we probably should slow down and take that into consideration. But if we can't, then at least we have that opportunity, which is great, right?
And a lot of businesses, like I saw going online, like you said, there's a variation of ways you can go online. So some of these businesses did not build a website for them to sell their products. They basically took social media, they made themselves visible. They gave information on how to reach them, the types of products they could supply during this period, and how they made it accessible. And like, we have plenty of small businesses that went that route. And when we were talking in how to pivot your business and seeing how you can help your customers get the product that they appreciate from you, a lot of businesses did it with Facebook, and it was very impressive to see restaurants. Like, how do you feel about restaurants and what they're doing to provide us with food? Isn't it amazing? Like, you're not ordering from their online platform, but they're making their products and the list of products available on Facebook, and you can basically order bulk items, right? Yeah. Isn't that a great example, Julie, of things you could do to put yourself online?
Definitely, and I've been speaking to them about that, and I don't know if it's sustainable. I told them, I think that's awesome. You should keep doing. They're like, ooh, I don't know if I can. In terms of the work it entails, and because they're not set up in a fashion that it could easily make it more sustainable. But definitely, I think it's hearing your customers and what they need and what they want right now, and that's the biggest part of servicing, right? And being
also, you said they took to social media, and some of them, it wasn't necessarily to peddle a product itself, but I love that they've just kind of taken this opportunity to show how they're serving the cause, how they're supporting folks amongst this in terms of, that's very important in terms of this corporate social responsibility, right? This idea of we're here to support everyone. We're not just here to make a buck. And I love how they've taken to social media and to market themselves, but not without marketing themselves per se, but just to kind of reinforce that we're able to, keep business going, and this is how we're supporting the cause.
And we hear you, my customers. We hear what you want, what you need.
Absolutely.
And the beauty of the North is that Facebook is a great tool. I wouldn't say it's great everywhere nationally, and it's not as strong in the South in terms of this for business. But in Northern Ontario, it's a great tool, and I think people need to continue using it and understanding that it's pretty much the only platform that has a voice right now. Since the flyers are gone, the radio has a voice, but this is giving people a direct voice and interaction with their clients, right? So, number one, reviews. Make sure you answer them digitally. That's your biggest Your biggest supporter will be if you get positive or even negative. You need to answer. You need to acknowledge
Respond.
that. Yeah, exactly.
Awesome.
So a lot of businesses I know up north, like they have an online presence where you can basically see that they have a store and they have pictures, but you can't consume products or services through their online platform. And I think that's one thing that's missing in this pandemic is the fact that our local businesses have halted their operations because they were not operating online. I just and the reason why I feel they weren't going towards or they hadn't incorporated that was the fear of not knowing how to manage it, not knowing how to do it. Do you think? Can you explain that it's not that hard to do? There, it's a time process, but like times have changed in creating a website 5 years ago and creating a website where you can make transactions today. It's not the same process at all, right?
So before I'm gonna tag on to that. So definitely, if you could answer, kind of demystify it, it's not that hard, but also, are there resources and what exists out there to kind of support them in kind of doing this
Okay, well,
daunting
yeah. So
task?
it's not that hard. It's not hard, but it is time consuming.
Yes.
And pre-COVID, people didn't have the time. They don't, like the expression cordonnier mal chaussé. I'm a prime example. My website's still in construction, and it's been like a year. But I think it's the time investment is one. So I will demystify it. It's not that hard, but there is a money in terms of money. There's a big investment to be had if you already have a physical location. And like Lori was talking about earlier, is correlating the actual physical products with what you're selling online. So making sure they speak. And the making sure they speak is expensive. And that's the problem. That's one of the biggest problems is if you're starting out, because if you're starting out, you can set up a system where, say you're using online platform like Shopify, for example, then you just make sure your inventory is all into Shopify. And then you don't have to have two systems. But if you already have a pre-existing system and then you're like talking to that company and saying, oh, I want to go online, and they're like, oh yeah, sure, I can do that for you for $200. And for another $100, you can connect a month. And then we're, so there's a lot of money involved.
Yeah.
The good thing is the North is we have a lot of grants available, especially for the digital. I think l'ACO, La Société économique de l'Ontario, I'm going to be plugging Mélanie Breton here. One of her roles is actually finding grants for your business to help you get online, to help you grow your enterprise, to just everything in that regard. So one of her roles is to actually be aware of all the grants available right now. So she'd definitely be a great asset for any business looking. I mean, North Clay Belts also has some micro lending and also some grants available. But I think, the chambers, and Mélanie also works directly with the Chamber of Commerce, and they're aware of grants as well, of how to help your business. So that's definitely something to look at. Nobody in the North should right now be spending out of pocket 100% because there's so much money to get you online.
Wow, that's amazing. What we can commit to is sharing the contact information for these different people that you've just. We'll check with them to make sure they're okay with it. But
and I think, let's also just I can probably find a video to how to claim your business on Google that we can just add in there as well. So yeah, just moving on from that. But so the things you want to consider when you're getting online is if you're going to be selling. Okay, so let's say you're getting online to sell a product, not a service, and not just a one pager, right? Because that's quite doable and that's very easy. But you want to consider your shipping, so who you're going to be shipping with. And one of the things in the North, I think it's hard to compete with the South in terms of if you're selling brand names and they're selling their stuff online, you're not going to compete. So think of it, alternate solutions in terms of curbside pickup or delivery in the region. Say delivery from Callstock to Iroquois Falls, and there are delivery systems that are local that you could, and drop-offs and pickup locations. So it's alternate solutions, but then you're talking to your audience directly, and you're bypassing the Amazons and the ones that you can't compete with anyway, right? and the Nikes
I had
on.
no idea about those shipping options, by the way, local, and I kind of stumbled on them during this whole COVID thing, that there are some kind of companies that's what they do. They like start in Matheson, and they drop stuff for businesses who are selling stuff.
Next morning. And that's another thing that the South cannot compete with you with that. So one of them is that, and it's looking at solutions that are maybe not existing even, like you create your own, right? Somebody that's delivering meat already, would you mind dropping it off a package? You know, I can pay you a certain amount. It's just, the options are limited if you actually look for them. Payments, online payment processing.
Yes.
You have a bank. Chances are you will not want to use their merchant system online because it's expensive to integrate with any solution, as opposed to how easy it is to use PayPal or Stripe. But they will never be able to compete in terms of rate. Like your bank will give you a great rate. PayPal's at 2.2% on the transaction plus 30 cents. So those are things to consider. But I mean, you have to look at the benefits, right? Are you selling more? If you are, then maybe that's another thing. And then just actually doing the work, putting your products, getting pictures of all your products, the descriptions, if you have to put in the SKUs, you're looking at maybe, you know, at least if you have everything already on hand, even printed out, you're looking at least at 10 minutes of product. So if you have a big inventory, if you have 10,000 products, you better hire a student.
So what I'm getting from this though is that this is the perfect situation, the perfect time to start doing it. Like if your business has stopped and you're looking for a way to revamp it up, and we don't know what's going to happen out of this once we come out. We may get back to business as unusual very quickly again if there's a second wave, a third wave, and we've set a precedence now that I guess government can stop us anytime, and we don't know when the next stoppage will come. And there's going to be some habits that have been developed by your clients of wanting to find products online. So the fact that we're stopped and we've been talking about it is your ideal time to start doing the legwork. But most of all, what I'm hearing, and I'm looking at the time, and I want this to we could talk for hours, I know, and it's really interesting. What I'm getting out of this though is you need getting help from a professional will get you to your goal a lot quicker than if you try to do it by yourself. But planning to go online and taking an action of reaching out to a professional is the first step you need to take. Do we have, other than you that is currently too busy to help a lot of businesses?
And I have a baby coming, so
congratulations! Yes.
That baby will not care if I have deadlines. No.
Do we have resources up in the north that you know of that you could share some names and maybe we can tag to this post? Like, who do we have in CAP? I know we have Andy Deschamps that can help.
Yeah, from he's got Web City Link. He's actually put a few people online during. So he has, I think, an integrated solution that makes it a lot quicker. So that's something to look at. I know Alain Robichaud from Ontario North Consulting.
André Robichaud.
André Robichaud, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, excuse. Yeah. Sorry. Did I say Alain? Sorry.
Yeah.
I think in CAP, that's pretty much it for the companies putting you online completely.
Okay.
There were others, but then there's some in Timmins as well. And NeoNet being that's a federal organized or subsidized organization that has a lot of grants for online digital work, has a list of also developers in Northern Ontario. So we can share that list as well. I'm not on there. I asked not to be, just so that because I couldn't handle all the extra work that came with it. But yeah, it's a solution. It's definitely, there's a lot of great people that can help you. You just want to make sure you listen to their webinars and because they give you tips on ensuring that you get the service you need.
That's awesome. Yeah. And that's what I'm taking away, that there is money out there, that there shouldn't be a lot of out of pocket. It is going to involve time, but that if you do contact some of the people that we're going to tag, they'll have lists, as well as they'll be able to kind of provide you an idea of tips of what to look for as you're looking to access one of these professionals.
Definitely. Yeah.
What would be, Laura, as we go, what would be your wish coming out of COVID-19 regarding online presence in the North? Do you have one?
Laura or Jules?
Laura.
Laura. Coming out of COVID-19, I think I would love to see more businesses being able to kind of expand their market reach and get this added kind of clientele via the online options. So that my wish is that they'd be able to be so prepared that if and when this second wave or whatever other pandemic hits, that they'll be impacted a lot less because they'll have this alternative option.
Yeah. And you, Jules?
Same wish as Laura.
Yeah, me too.
Well, like it's like she has a great answer every time. So I'll just say
Same.
No, it's definitely, you just want them to, you don't want businesses to crumble. I mean,
No.
if you can avoid it, try to find an alternative solution until you can get back to business as usual.
But we've already established we don't really like business as usual. We're striving for business as unusual because it's about reinventing yourself and strategizing.
That I can understand, but if you lose your life savings and your whole business, then I think you probably just want to go back to it. So I think it has to be a happy medium.
I agree.
Yes, I agree. Thank you, ladies, for another great talk. It was awesome having our first guest on these talks, and we hope everybody's staying safe and that they're working on their destination and where they want to be when they come out of this. Have a great week, folks.
Thanks, Jules.